Hello, we're going to overview the output file from the B2T engine after calculating income taxes from the accounting data. We're going to explain the main tax results as well as the structure of the output file. So the B2T engine calculates taxes by taking an input file and produces an output file. We're going to be focusing on the output file, and we're going to explain the output file using a simple example. And here's the simple example, the hello world example that we have been using in several tutorials. Here the problem that we want to solve is that we want to calculate taxes for a US company P that has a revenue of $1,000. So we're going to calculate by using the easy button here. Now, if the engine happened to start code, then it may take 20-30 seconds to warm up. Otherwise, it'll be rather quick. So it's down now. Let's open the output file and take a look. So here's the output file. We see all the input sheets are being copied into the output file as is. This is to supply the full traceability into the input data. And all the output data are in those yellow tabs or the yellow sheets. Now, before we go further, let's think about a question. What are the most important data to taxpayer and to tax authorities? The answer is the tax amounts. For taxpayer and tax authorities, they both wanted to know the tax amounts accurately in the most efficient way. This is precisely what B2T Engine provides us. So for each taxpayer entity and each of its tax jurisdiction, it does one tax provision calculation. And the answer are those tax amounts, the total tax expense, the current and deferred tax, and the effective tax rate. These are the important main focus of both taxpayers and tax authorities, and those answers are highlighted. We have only one calculation here for the company P. It has an income of 1,000 and the total tax expense is 210. All of it is the current tax expense. The deferred tax expense is 0, and the effective tax rate is 21%, which is the same, in our example here, the same as the US corporate tax rate. Now, the B2T engine not only gives the final answer, it also explains why those final answers are like that. In other words, it explains the calculation logic using several other output sheets. And here is the provision sheet. We shortcut go to that sheet. For each calculation, it explains how those main tax results are being obtained through several reports. Here is a CTE calculation, current tax expense calc, that explains the current tax expense calculation. The deferred tax expense calculation is explained here. And the rate rec report is to explain the effective tax rate calculation. Now, it may not be immediately obvious here. The most fundamental data for income tax processing are actually these, the book to tax adjustments, where each account balance is adjusted from accounting balances to tax balances for the jurisdiction, in our case, for USA. Now, it is so fundamental to the income tax processing that the B2T engine actually provides another sheet, the detailed sheet, to explain at the account level how those adjustments are being determined. So let's go there. This is the detail sheet. And in our trivia example, most importantly, it explains how the REV account are being adjusted from accounting balances to tax balances. And here's our account. And it is mapped to a standard revenue account. There's a lot of information about it, but here is the calculation logic. Here is a description of the logic. It supplies the actual reference to the rule that was used to determine the adjustment value. So essentially here it says that the revenue account was mapped to a rather generic account. So in order to improve the accuracy, if it could be mapped to a more specific one, the final result might be more accurate. So here we see the tax results, the total tax expense and so on. They were not only given the result as is, the B2T engine also explains how those numbers are being calculated down to the account level details. So those are the main points of the output file. To summarize, we have the B2T engine that produces an output file that is an Excel file. It contains a lot of data. All the data are being explained in the output data reference sheet. The main focus of the calculation are the tax amounts, the total tax expense, current taxes, deferred taxes, effective tax rate. In the output summary sheet, every calculation would give the most important tax rates, and those numbers will be given and highlighted so that it's easy to catch. The B2T engine not only tells us the final result, it also explains how those numbers are being calculated. The calculation logic are being given in different reports. And further, it also supplies the account level details to explain and provide traceability of the calculation logic. In our example, we don't have an entity group, so the tax consolidation output data are not being provided. They are for another tutorial. That's it. Thanks for watching.